Okay, so the roundtable for this afternoon, and we're very lucky to have this one. This is one at 2 o'clock, and so this kind of sets the theme for all these other different conferences. So we're going to talk about immersive technologies for a personalized shopping experience. So we're going to look at this word by word. Now, to talk about this, we have Fabienne André from SETI, and in a previous life, she has done quite a lot of things, especially in terms of sport, if I'm correct. Then we've got Émeric de la Roche-Vernet. He's got a company that's called Hulot. He's going to explain what that is. And then we've got Paul Kaminski. I think we spoke on the telephone. Oh, no, it was Flamand who calls every day. And then to his side, we have François-Xavier Jomer from Sky. Okay, so I pronounced it correctly then, Gomer. And then we have Jean-Michel Flamand. Everybody's talking about him, and he's going to be talking about Shopping Innovation Lab. So what do we do then in terms of Shopping Innovation Lab? What's it all about? So this is all about leisure. But when you think about when you're trying to think out of the box, well, what we do in terms of the Shopping Innovation Lab is to accompany all storeholders in terms of their customer experience. We know that customer experiences are moving faster today, so the needs of the consumers want to change their experience. So our job then, so these are our true needs, or are they just kind of expectations? So the objective, as far as we see it, and the company that I created, which is Shopping Innovation Lab, the objective of that company is to start with real needs rather than dealing with gadgets. So I really listen to the consumer in order to know what needs a consumer has and how I can better serve that customer. So do you think about how he expresses his needs? Yes, the idea is to have focus groups, very good quality focus groups where we pick out and identify the various trends. This person needs this kind of new thing. And your neighbor, his name changes all the same, François-Xavier Gomer. So François-Xavier, in your wonderful company, Hulot, Skyboy rather. So good afternoon, everybody. So let's try and be a bit more serious. So in Skyboy, we've developed a new generation of immersive experience, which uses cinema quality and experience in this augmented reality experience. So first we started in tourism, and then we went into the luxury field and fashion, and then the experience that we provide to the customers, the tourists, for example. So somebody came to see us and said, okay, well, we'd really like to develop that technology. We've developed low overlap reality. Do you want us to show you the film, or shall we go around the table? So I think it would be very expensive. And I said that all things are connected. We've got a museum connection. This happens in January. So we've got companies like you. So you were talking about tourism. Oh, the need to satisfy customers in terms of visiting a castle, for example. They've been able to give them a kind of tangible reality, allow them to see what the castle actually looked like and how people used to live. So Allure System, Paul Kaminski, a couple of words about your company. Good afternoon. Allure System. So let me wait for the picture to come up. So we've developed technology which allows us to present garments, products that can be worn by models, men or women. And even though those people have never really worn these garments, never been actually present to wear them. So your jacket, for example, I can allow this guy to wear it, and he's never worn his jacket ever in his life. In terms of personalized experience, a bespoke experience. So is this for the guy, or is it for me? So yes, it's for this person wearing the vest. So it's kind of semi-personalized experience. You have this dress here. It can be worn by different women, and none of these women will be here. So So you find types of women who look like you, so that when you're online and you want to order a dress, so that you can imagine how this dress will look on you, because somebody who looks like you is wearing it. So in fact, it can even be better than oneself. Émeric de la Roche-Vernet. So is it Hulot or Hulot? So when you're not talking about my jacket, what do you do? Or what we do? Well, we use a very specific technology, volumetric capture, so we can reproduce an object, reproduce a person in real clothes who's moving, and we can do this in 3 dimensions, so that we can then project them in 3D or in augmented reality. So typically the case... the most important case. This is a campaign that we organized for Zero in 40 countries. The windows were empty, and then we had these models walking around inside the window, so that they're modeling the clothes. So I find that very interesting. So we have the effect on the customer, so the customer experience, if you like, to make it as bespoke as possible, as spontaneous as possible. But this means a reorganization, a complete reorganization of the store. And also reorganizing the stocks as well. So all these different technologies. So we know them, we invent them, and we've seen them before. So. No, I'm going to remain very modest. So I think this is another step, a complementary step to what we do at the CETI. So in terms, CETI is the European Centre for Innovative Textiles. So innovative textiles, this is in Tourcoing. There's also an office in Paris. So the CETI is an institution that does prototyping of materials and finished products. And what's important for us in terms of finished products is to have the right product that does indeed respond to consumer demand. So it's the same issue then. This is on the upstream start or on the downstream start. So yes, we do work on the upstream part. So this is creating the material, and but also we're on the downstream side with the marketing side. Who are the customers? Who am I targeting? How can I better know their needs so that I can create materials and develop products for those consumers? To react and tell you what we've done, we have connected a store. This is within CETI, so we have all the technology there, which allows us to accompany and follow the customer journey. So that we can study the needs of that person and also manage the itinerary, manage the stock for the stores appropriately. And then we have a connected mirror. How do we retrieve the information, the data for the person, so that we can then transform that data into a need and into a study for the marketing people, so that they understand what the expectations of the customer are. So who can define what immersive technology is? So shall we leave this to the ladies? Okay, let me react to the second technology that we've also developed at CETI, and we're still developing this a bit further, very innovative technology. This is how, using virtual reality, how we can allow a brand to get the customer to have a very personalized experience, and so that they can react. This helps the marketers, the stylists, because they can react to the customer reactions. So this is where immersive technology comes in. It supports. It's another way of making a contact with the consumer. But at CETI, you don't have any consumers on your actual site. And so yes, our customers are the brands. You're quite right about that. So we are a B2B model. Technologies that we develop, those are for the brands, the industrialists who want to produce prototypes and create new experience. But you do work with, I think that everybody works with the brands and fashion labels. And Hulu, how did that work? I really like the, is it Hulu or Hulu? We say Hulu. So Hulu, people tend to remember this name. Well, we've been around for 3 years, and the model has changed since the outset. There are 5 of us working at this company, so a very small structure then. And the model has changed. We wanted to work in the field of music, nothing to do with fashion, retail, but at the end of the day, it's luxury, retail and fashion that we really work most with, because in terms of music, they don't have much, they don't have many resales, and they're not bold enough. Well, as I said, we want to work in music, we wanted to do virtual reality concerts, and so then we moved to textiles and fashion in particular, because this is where we realized that there was more of an appetite for this, more of a need to innovate and to really stand out from other brands. So why didn't that happen for the music industry? Because it works without that, because they have another kind of relationship with their consumer, they're more passive, because well, they use a lot of digitization, and they had to completely review their systems, and they're still kind of building that system. So, but anyway, we're moving away from the subject there. So, but we never really move away from the subject, because at the end of the day, the consumer, the listener, the music, the public for the music has their own experience. So a musical moment. A musical system. So and now I'm coming back to textiles and fashion. So here we're talking about the consumer. What's important here is emotion, generating emotion. And so basically we have two objectives. We have exactly what Jean-Michel said before, and that's moving from augmented reality, the gadget kind of technology, to useful technology. Let me give you an example of that. On internet, I see a bag which I really like, and on the photo, but I can't really see the dimensions of this bag, so I can allow it to appear on the table where I am at home, and then I can really get a good idea of the full dimensions of that bag, and also the color, and have a better idea of it, so I can buy it because I'm fully aware of what this product is. And then there's the emotion, and it's almost like it's already my bag, so we already have the emotion then. I want it. In fact, I already half own it, so I just need to order it, and I'll have it.
So the second point, of course, is to provide this emotion so that you can build a link with a brand, and that's what we do. Perhaps we'll revisit this a little later on. But the major problem that we've been confronted with recently is that to go to a mobile, I mean, most people need to operate over mobile. You need to download an app, but people don't want to do that because they've got everything they need. They've got a whole battery of apps they've got, and they don't want an extra one just for this type of experience. So now, what matters now is to go into the web mode, which is what we're doing, and get involved on the social networks. Snapshot, Instagram, to name but two, offers real augmented reality bubbles, if you will. And you can have these products featured in augmented reality in that way. Well, thanks very much. We'll return to that later on. Now, emotion. What about the cultural world then? Tourism. The emergence of your companies then, in Schaumburg, in Karnak and what have you. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Goodness me, you know all about me, don't you? Amazing. Well, Skyboy is something I established with my partner, and we work with a director for the last 15 years, and I'm an urban developer, and sometimes when I meet up with this gentleman, we get angry with each other. Well, it's a dialogue. Well, I think it's going to get better as time goes by, but you know, the idea really was to build something up around an emotion. In what world can we live in which is highly positively emotive? So we thought if you have a fabulous cast, if you go into a dark room, I have a fabulous film, then that'd be lovely. And it'd be good to see the difference between somebody who has gone into a virtual world and somebody who hasn't. And if you have gone, then you know that you're going to have a little breeze when you're in that dark room, if you will, because you need to have your antennae vibrating to feel things, to hear, to taste, and what have you, as well as hearing and seeing. So we're getting involved with this idea of telling a story that's superimposed into real life with an apparatus that doesn't cut you off from real life. The idea being, and we're not working in a bubble, virtual reality bubble. No, we want you to keep in touch with your immediate environment. For example, going to a shop to do your shopping. So what are you saying? you're expressing yourself very well. But I suppose you're adding sensorial experience to what you're offering. Well, we haven't yet worked on smells and what have you, but we do want the person to keep in touch with their physical, real environment. So what does that mean? We're going to be dealing with a tablet or a smartphone display. And through that window that we're going to be opening up, we're going to be adding on a re-enchantment kind of environment, emotionally charged and something that tells a story. You may have seen this. The creative team of this fair makes a publication every year and talks about enchantment, the enchanted world. So we're very much in sync with that. So off you go. You've taken up the microphone. Express yourself. What, do you want me to say something in particular? Well, no, perhaps talk in more detail about what you do, or at least tell us what you think about what your neighbour has said and what you do that's different to your neighbour. Well, what we do that's slightly different, and that's why it's interesting that you're sitting on the same round table. Well, Sky Boy is looking at a shop experience. It's something that's experience-based, something experienced by the customer in this major trend for the last few years, where you're going to redo in a physical space an area where the person is going to want to come, and not just to order over the web. That's what we want. We're concentrated on the web, though, and what we want to do is to help the customer where he doesn't actually have to go into the high street store to make his purchase. And in the fashion industry, it's always difficult, isn't it? We've always seen that. When you want to buy something online, you receive it three or 4 days later on, and it doesn't really fit with what you thought it was going to be, or you got the size wrong, or what have you. All those things, if you like, that make an online sale in that particular, a niche in fashion difficult. So we want to give lots of information remotely to a customer so that they can make an enlightened choice in their purchase. And at the end of the day, when they do go into a Nike high street shop, go to see the one, by the way, in Nike in New York, because that's fabulous. But he's going to go into that shop because he's going to try on something, but it's also for something else. So this information, where can you retrieve it, and what's crucial for you? What does a customer really need by way of information on the apparatus, the devices that he's going to interact with, and how does that person receive, therefore, this data? Well, it's image-based, basically, pictures. Compared with the previous world, if you like, rather than seeing your item worn by a model, physical model. Have you got anything to show us? Or I've got one or two other ones, because we've got. I mean, the pictures we can be posted over our heads. Yes, but this boils down to the idea of showing more garments shown by more people of different sizes, shapes and sizes and ages, so that you specifically to identify with what you're seeing, somebody who looks like you, so you can project yourself in that situation, wearing that garment. So you can see this range of dresses. This is something that you're talking about in New York, wasn't it? That's right. Yes, this is the type of thing you can see in New York. And lots of articles are sent back. A huge percentage for articles returned to companies. So it involves a cost. And whenever an article is sent back to the manufacturer, then this latter will lose some money. So it's a lose-lose paradigm. So to help the customer to realize remotely what garment he's going to be buying and what it's going to look like on him, we do this type of thing, as you can see on the screens. It will facilitate online purchases. So who's funding all this? It's the brand. It's not the customer, obviously. Okay. So in exchange for that, then the brand, in order to benefit from the data that you've recorded, how does that happen? Well, we don't record data. No, but you provide sensations. Well, we provide content, and the customer via this website. So the customer our customer, the brand, can know what their customer liked on the website. Whether they went directly to the page where there's an image of a woman wearing an oversized garment or whatever. You see this a lot in the US. There's lots of brands who are showing their garments worn by between 10 and 12 different models between very small size garments to large size, oversized garments, basically to help a customer identify with what they're seeing, to see basically whether that garment will fit them or suit them. So isn't that an additional layer of complexity there? When if you see 12 different outfits, if you will, 12 different types of the same outfit, doesn't that get you a bit lost? I mean, you know, this type of thing you're saying is you want to avoid going to the high street shop, etc., to make it simpler. But at the end of the day, aren't you adding layer after layer of complexity? You know, 12 people, maybe it's too much. I mean, I'm being a bit provocative, and I do apologize for that. No, it's a good question you're putting. Our job is not to choose for the brand, it's to offer content. Yes, but you're advising an advisory service, aren't you? Well, we're offering 12 different sizes of the same garment, which offers 12 different examples to facilitate a purchase. We work with Chantel, for example, which can show 10 different sizes of bras, for example. So this is important, I think, that customers realize what's available. In some cases, there won't be 12 sizes. It really depends on your strategy as a brand. Do you want to show that or not? I worked with Shante a lot. And I remember the CEO went into the fine detail of lingerie products and the role of advisory services in the high street, the advice provided by a shop floor person. So Chantel is a pretty complex brand, isn't it, with what it offers. So it's quite interesting that even them are moving off towards what you're describing. Okay. We've talked about immersive technology, but you haven't told us everything, I think. Is that right? Well, we're here to provide advice to retailers and brands to find their appropriate tool. So you're part of the customer relationship experience. That's right, yeah. Well, yes, our role is to offer very different solutions. A brand might want to create emotion, arouse emotion, or generate communication or news or buzz around its universe. And at another point in time, a retailer or brand want to optimize a purchase, direct the customer to trying on the garment or retrieving extra information about the garment, and in order to have meet with a proper solution. Our job, therefore, is to avoid generating too much pie-in-the-sky stuff around technologies. You might think that something's brilliant, that there's a quantum leap, there's a mirror with virtual fitting rooms, but there are limits. Technology needs to be used advisedly, either to arouse an appetite or to have an inkling into manufacturing processes. This is what we do. We optimize a manufacturing process, here, or a purchasing process, and I can see 6 different outfits on my screen, or I try to make sure that people can try something out 3D. And so our job is to be abreast of all these startups, all these technologies, to properly understand the retailers or the brand's needs, as well as the final customer, to make everything dovetail. That's basically what we do. And of course we can talk about this at length, about immersive and augmented reality, because these helmets, if you will, there's nobody around this table that use the helmets, is that right? Perhaps you do. Do forgive me, but there is lots of other technologies gravitating around that. But this boils down to the idea that there's lots of technologies that meet brand, retailer, or customer needs. Basically, you need to choose the right technology based on what you want to do. Perhaps you'd like to say something on this. Yes, just to pick up on this helmet idea. For us, we would agree. Our sector is one for arousing emotions. And that's the red thread, really, of what we do. Now, a helmet. Why and how do we use it? Models were virtualized in 3D. And when thinking about the customer, he needs to be given a fun environment. That's what the brand can offer to the customer, so that the customer can jot down, or mark, if you like, mark the brand and get a feel for the brand, 3D. Hence the importance of a helmet. He can walk around, if you like, 3D, a garment and draw on it and annotate, make notes, and all that information is then retrieved by fashion designers, and it's of use to them. Comment off mic. Yes, possibly. I didn't have time to do that, but we can show you this application in Dinan at the Designers Festival. Chantal Thomas, we were lucky enough to see her trying out this technology, and she drew something in the environment I've just described. So the brand creates the collection. The fashion designer has it seen 3D through a specialized or specific software, and then you can annotate the picture, if you like, 3D. So once again, it's the idea of interacting with a product that doesn't exist, if you like. So you're in the design phase, is that right? Yeah, well, we're trying to help choose the right product. That's the idea, the best seller, if you will, the winning product. So we're there with the marketing people to see what's the best product that corresponds to a pre-selected brand target. That's the way that we're building a relationship on co-creation, if you like, approach for the customer. Of course, it can be used in-house between modelizers or modelizers and designers.
In terms of immersive experiences, virtual reality is something very complex for many reasons. The first reason is that there aren't all that many visors, so there are about 1 million visors around the world, whereas there are about 1 billion smartphone users. So it's really not very democratic or widespread at the moment. The other thing is that it completely isolates you. So when you have your visor, you're completely cut off from the outside world. So there are social experiences that exist, but they're not very widespread at the moment, and they're not real people that you're dealing with. So it's a bit complex. Another obstacle in terms of experiences with virtual reality, and that is that there's some people who just don't want to do this. So, for example, a nice woman comes out of the hairdresser. She doesn't want to put this visor on because, of course, that will mess up her hair that she's just had done, or it will play havoc with her makeup. Oh, well, this is how boys think. That's always how boys think. No, this is something that I've experienced firsthand. So it's quite complicated then to do this. I'm a great fan of virtual reality, and what we're trying to do is what virtual reality offers on other immersive experiences is this idea of being present. You really have the impression that you're in this environment. So the competition poll in terms of distribution, I don't know what the name is, but you showed that using this helmet, the professional who wants to open up a store, he has the virtual reality, knows what his store will be like, a franchise or not, and knows how the store should be organized. So I found that very interesting. So you can even choose the size of the shop, the form of the store, based on the product that you're trying to sell. So very interesting. Yes, we've got to a level where the brain doesn't really know what it's doing, and we're dealing with volumes that we've never seen before. So. We've completely duped the brain. So it's very interesting, but there are a lot of obstacles as well. Now, something which I'd like to see, and I'm wondering about this, I'm wondering about augmented reality with augmented reality goggles. So we'd be completely a prisoner in this world that doesn't actually exist. And this will add a three-dimensional objects or people. So there are some visors that can do this already, magically, for example. There are other visors that are coming out, so new, very interesting goggles coming out then. And I think that Apple is also working on something of this kind, so this can really be a game changer. Now, if these do come out, and if they're very good products, then this experience could be more and more widespread, unlike the virtual reality, and especially important for gamers. So I really think that augmented reality can add another dimension for most people. A bit like the smartphone. So So there was a question. So I wanted to go back to what you said before, what Jean-Michel said before. Okay. So these kind of two silos with two types of technologies that are either on one side or the other, I think that the brands are completely disoriented. They don't know who they're going to sell to and how they're going to sell. So will people come into the store to try things on, and or will they buy on the web, screen on the web, and then come into the store and try these things on? And the reality is that we no longer know how that happens. So we have to have more and more contacts. So I believe firmly, and this is why the brands are contacting us and using it at the moment, I believe that our technologies, I'm thinking particularly of Skyboys, as we can be an interface between the virtual world and the real world. So going into the store once you've had this very good experience, have a call to action. For example, this becomes a very powerful tool. It's just like the chat box, for example. For the moment, the problem is knowing how to attract the consumer, attract the consumer to the store, whether it's virtual or real. So our experiences have been pushed onto the social networks to push this, come and have a wonderful experience with us. But at the same time, after that experience, we can guide people to the web. So we're no longer in a silo anymore. We're just one link in the chain, and you connect on. And so this is what makes it meaningful. And this also allows you to have an ROI for the type of experience that we propose, because we do some quite wonderful experiments with Skyboy, but how can we measure the return on experience of these experiments? But when we're able to create data, produce data, that would be something which is extremely important in terms of our solution. We can sell the data with the experience, and also we'll be able to push and make this viral. So the European Centre of Innovative Textiles, we don't produce software. So we exist to accompany and experiment with new technologies. And we believe a lot, or we believe very strongly in terms of production on demand, everything that concerns virtual reality. This is about capturing data, choices, desiderata, but then we have to make this concrete and turn it into the short cycle. So it's relocalized as close as possible in France or somewhere else. And for the manufacturers, this allows them to produce small numbers, a limited number of items. So this is in terms of this is what we have in terms of projects, so that we can move gradually towards the industry of the future. All this technology that we're currently testing. So how can we make this something concrete in the future? Now, one subject which is very important is that whether you sell in a store, whether you sell on the internet, we have to be able to control the processes. So this is where the technology is still experimental in that stage. So this goes back to another subject that we have to talk about today. So the fact that we need to personalize the experience, and in terms of the products that we have to buy, we have to have a short circuit locally produced. I just wanted to add to that. So we're talking about this circular economy. This short circuit is very important. You said the brands were very disoriented, and perhaps the brands are saying, well, today the priority in terms of our consumers today is something which is linked to the type of materials used, the traceability, the components, all that goes together. So one question I wanted to ask you. Sorry, I had to interrupt you there. So yes, that's a very good question. On the 19th, on Thursday then, at the City, In Pourquoi, we have the major inauguration of the recycling platform, where, in terms of this sustainable development approach, the circular economy, we will see exactly how we can recreate materials using natural products like cotton from clothes that we have retrieved. So this is now being set up. Future materials, etc. So I invited people to Vêtements and Images this morning. Vêtements d'Images, this discourse on fashion. And everybody was explaining what they do in order to recycle used clothes and to introduce that into the Vêtements d'Images cycle. So we know that once again, we see again that there's a priority there. So this is about protection. Thinking about people who wear these clothes. So once again, this is a priority. So the need is indeed there. Okay, yes, we are indeed looking and working for very prestigious brands. We're looking at how we can manage the unsold items and how we can manage these image-based products that we can't just simply burn. And so we have to manage the waste much better now. And so our approach at City is to look at how we can manage overproduction. And the second thing that we deal with is how we can design differently. So this is a major challenge for us. We accompany either the upstream part, the downstream part, and we really have to accompany people in terms of eco-design. So I remember there was the boss of Rabil who was there, and he explained, okay, well, if you make recycling easier in terms of the fibers themselves, the various functionalities have to be integrated. And so this will allow us to facilitate recycling and decomposition. Now, a question I wanted to ask you, you talk about the brands. Now, a product that doesn't have a brand, how can they create emotions for the consumer? For socks, for example, there are some wonderful socks brands, but how you might say, okay, well, it's very easy to buy socks. Well, in terms of the very basics, it has to be something attractive, so that means creative. There has to be a visual effect which makes the customer want to buy it. So I think that was a good answer. And in Skyboy, for example, we've come from the cinema world. We have creative people working with us, and people call on us for the technical experience and also for the content that we use in this technology. But how can a brand take advantage of that? So, as I said, we have some very creative people in France and all over the world. So for any subject, I could find you something which is either very serious, something which is a bit the right angle, let's say, so that I can create a certain experience, even for a pair of socks. So let's talk about Allure Systems now. I like the way in which you have created your system. So have you been around for a long time, for 3 years? Are there a lot of you in this startup? There are about 20 of us in Paris, 5 in New York, and we have a couple of people in China as well. So what do you do with the Chinese back office functions, amongst other things? But of course the fashion is global, so yes, absolutely. Now, to go back to this personal experience, this is something that we haven't really gone into depth in. The difficulty is, and this is what we said before, is that immersion, the personalization, are diametrically opposed in terms of practical terms. It needs a lot of investment, a lot of work, and personalization. This requires having the right quantities of product, of models that actually wear these garments. So that makes the equation rather complicated. So you can be very good in terms of immersion, but something which is very well designed, created to narratives that are repeated, but then each experience is different. So there's a choice to be made. So there is a choice to be made. And so we go back to this idea of creativity that we mentioned before. The more you want to be creative for a certain number of personalized items, then you will need much more time to do that, many more resources, and at the end of the day, there is a debate in the world of fashion going on in terms of the experience, the emotion, which is a very strong driver in terms of fashion, and also a need for efficiency vis-à-vis the customer. And the real experience that we provide to the customers to allow them to buy more easily and to feel better about what they're actually buying. So I think that around this table we have the two sides of the debate.
So it's interesting, isn't it, that we're including both these sides of things in the debate, but it's not as straightforward as that in real life. Anything like to add? No, but I'm just thinking about customization and how to manage that. And as we were saying a moment ago, the cost problem, which hasn't been remedied for the time being in France at least. How can you customize while at the same time mastering costs? This is part of the major nub of the issue that we talk about automation, robotization and what have you, and how we can leave a role to human savoir-faire in all that. And sitting behind that, there's also little jobs, lots of professions. There's this, the arts and crafty kind of side of things that still has a role to play. And young people, and the youngest people, are thinking differently now, starting to group together. And I think things have moved on in the practice of the business. And technology could also be frightening to creative people and modelers and fashion designers, because these are the people that we work with. But, for me, I think it's just, it goes hand in hand with our technology, helping them to get more value out of what they do, thinking things slightly differently and how to use the advantages of technology to go further creatively and to get your brain whipped up even further. I saw that with a 3D company, a fabulous company, and it's a tool that can be done. Lots of 3D machines can do maybe heels for shoes. I'm very obsessed with it, but it can prompt creativity. Maybe why would you ask a creative person draw a heel off this just by scratch? But you can use a computer or software to give his creativity a leg up or a fillip. Yes, but the customization that we have to build into things when we do our business, automation needs to be for the customer. So if we want to put together a product according to certain costs and constraints, you need to anticipate on the customization that will be made ultimately available to the customer. What's of interest when you think about people in marketing and fashion designing, because they go hand in hand, upstream, immediately you have to think differently. You have to say to yourself, right, if we want to meet that target, we need to offer an image-based offering, and so therefore we need to anticipate the decision that a customer may make, and we need to build that into our production process. So that opens another window that we can look through. And this, I think, shows that we're really getting forward now, moving forward rather on customization. As you were saying, we're getting back to this arts and craftsy approach. The Nike shop in New York, for example, you may know it. I return to that because it's, there's a big buzz around it. But, a high street shop buzz in experience, that's important. In that shop, you take, say, a white pair of shoes, and an artist right in front of you will follow your instructions to create your own personal, customized shoes. So you would have co-created with Nike, but they'll be your sneakers. And I think that changes your relationship with the business. But again, this is just an experience. That's the problem. It's difficult to make widespread. You can have one shop in New York that does this. Yes, but in a business, you need to mass produce, don't you? So you need to make sure, that you try and dovetail with customers' needs. But at the end of the day, you're mass producing. Yes, I mean, the products are going to be pre-designed, if you will, increasingly so. And it will be easy to generate the type of strategy that we're seeking. In a high street shop, that's one thing. But online, you can order some sneakers, you can change the colors of this, that, and the other, of the sole or what have you, to different degrees. And I think we're deepening in there, into that world, in terms of communication, and as well as the physical product per se. Yes, so we have to think about structuring that, organizing manufacturing. Of course, that's still a bit of a problem. Yes, it's a change of model, of paradigm. But yes, you have to rethink your business model. Changing your business model, as the lady said. Yes, that's of interest. Hence the interest of this round table. Hence the need to go quickly and to renew collection. Zara, every fortnight it changes its collection. So basically what we're saying here, I think, is that customizing garments is difficult to implement because you have to think about things have to think about the chain from A to Z to offer customized products. And we know that it costs money. It carries a cost to have a configurator, to establish a 3D environment, to have the right collar or the right button on different types of virtual shirts. On the one hand, customization reduces the implementation of manufacturing processes, but on the other hand, we need to go quickly, bearing in mind the customer revolution that is unfolding. So how do we do the splits, if you like? How do we make sure that we can go fast, like Zara, so that we get as quickly and quickly closer and closer to what the customer wants? Well, this is currently what we're looking at. This is where we need to work on. We work with the designers, with material suppliers, and we set up a sort of a marketplace to that end. We're trying to conceive of a new way of working. This doesn't exist yet. At a given point in time, manufacturers need to pool information because for the time being everybody's working for themselves, aren't they, in their own corner. To put together a pair of jeans, maybe you might accept that there's inventory in one place and some people say, look, well, I've got capacity in such and such a period, I can do this, that, and the other. So you can share information. Another way of addressing things. You think that manufacturers and entrepreneurs, their mentality, or even start-uppers and fashion designers, perhaps their mindset is going to have to change? I suppose the proof is in the pudding. Each of you have got a different expert area, but you've understood what other people are doing, and I think it's highly positive. And I feel optimistic, and that's my very nature. But I think it's that revolution or that evolution is underway, isn't it? Bringing together disparate parts of the industry, new mindset which is unfolding, new ways of working together collegially. Yes, well, forgive me. I don't know. I'm talking about my own experience, but I have a traditional trajectory, really, in terms of my professional career. But it's true that start-uppers are agile, and there's a collaborative ecosystem that is there. But it's funny, really, that people that don't come from the industry also need to share a lot. They need to, and that's why this specificity, which is very interesting that we're talking about here. I'm talking about established industries, for example. They've got plants, they've got money, they've got machines, and they're going to have to change, yes, but they have to be assisted to that end. Yes, but I can't remember, there was one yesterday that was on hemp manufacturers. We need to use the extant, what we've already got. I think we're talking about biocomposites or bio-inputs. And they're saying, well, we've already got machines. They're highly sophisticated. Why throw them out? We need to reorganize, restructure what we're doing, change our praxis, but using the same machines. Revolution is in your mind, in the way you structure organizational and collegial processes, but not the actual physical tool itself. Did you want to say something? No, I was hearing you say collegial and collaborative. This is crucial now. We don't have any choice. There is a battery of people in the ecosystem that have different constraints and different maturity levels. And I think today we've got customers who've got expectations and they want an answer which isn't with one, but is scattered across everybody in this system. We're seeing this increasingly. Some of us are very much involved in the LVMH incubator in that little mini company nursery. 3 of us around this very table, and they are undeniably picking up speed. 50 startups every year appearing, and there's a small fraction of a solution they have to a massive overarching problem. Yes, hence the need to be operating even physically next door. Well, that's right. It goes without saying. I was talking about walled gardens or silos a moment ago, and it was very nice of you to offer me the microphone. I was just wondering whether I was having what was I going to say. You're doing quite well. Well, thanks very much. But with customization, we've got a communication channel which is top down. We're going to be talking, or the brand talks to the customers. But when Skyboy started genuinely to get off the ground, it was because that had been turned on its head. So we said, yes, you have got a message to get across to your customers, but how is that message going to be turned into something palpable that is going to help you as a manufacturer improve? That's not done at Skyboy, really. That's done with a conjunction of a variety of technologies. And if there is a Skyboy experience sitting behind that, where we're looking more in the finer detail about what's going on, what would you like, what are you looking for, what do you want to achieve? Well then, once you've done that, then yes, you're going to better understand who your customer is, what is he looking for, what are his purchasing practices and what have you. And I think we're right on the brink of this adventure, if you will, this massive undertaking. You have to show that you can produce the goods. We've got this technology, we've got our own experience, that's under our belt, and we've got to experiment, we've got to try things out, trial and error. That's true, and that's part and parcel of startups, and most of them die, and some of them survive, and very few are successful. Let's face it. But we are blazing the way forward, aren't we? We're going to try out a new product through innovative processes. We're going to try it out. If we get it wrong, well, never mind. We'll have done it with money of the big fat cats who won't have. If it does work, then the industrialists will buy it up and roll it out massively. Well, thanks very much. I think everybody would agree with what you said. We've almost reached the hour. It's nice to stay with you, but of course it's good to keep time because we've got to keep in sync with our schedule. Anyone around us who'd like to respond or put a question to these brilliant speakers? You don't have to. Perhaps everything was crystal clear and everything's very much open, hence my question. Anyway, since there are no questions, just remember that our Fashion Tech friends are just behind us, and that tomorrow they're organising a networking meeting, a mingling meeting after our conference day. So if you're still here, come and speak to them. Visitors and exhibitors and experts can talk at the Avantex platform. And just by way of conclusion, just to resonate with what we've said, you've seen people around us, first days, lots of work, second day, calmer for obvious reasons. What's of interest, really, is that some people are saying, oh, we've already started working with these people, but we never actually met them. And I think this is really what we're looking at here industrially. We're talking about arts and crafts. Arts and crafts can be a laboratory, if you will, for industry. I think a revolution is underway, and you've shown that very clearly. Thanks very much, Fabien. Thank you, Emeric, Paul, François-Xavier, Jean-Michel. Thank you to all of you. Have a lovely day, and thanks very much for attending the conference.